Hi, Brittany, and welcome to the Calm and Courageous podcast. It's a parent's guide to powerful allyship in raising children with disabilities. And I just want to thank you so much for joining me. I've been wanting to interview you for so long. You're someone that I admire, and I think that you're such a beautiful woman. And I've just watched you grow up. And so I'm excited. I'm excited to have you here. I'm going to read your bio and then we'll just jump right in. So,
Amazing.
Brittany, Brittany Aarni, you recently got
Thank you.
has built a unique career at the intersection of education and entertainment. She's worked as a pathology assistant, a teacher, and now thrives in the ed tech space, where she helps bring innovative solutions to learning. For 5 years, Brittany performed stand-up comedy, and during the pandemic lockdown, she created an outdoor beachside comedy show in Santa Monica called 2020 Was a Beach. Her comedy special, The Big Laugh, is currently streaming on Tubi. You go, girl.
Oh, thank you.
It's
It is,
so awesome.
thank you. It is really cool when I get to go on, on streaming and I get to go on TV and I get to see that my name and my face pops up. It's one of those moments where I'm like, oh wow, it was my whole dream and in stand up was to just have something televised. So to have that accomplishment felt really rewarding, something that I can have a legacy on and look back on, which I really was really proud of.
I know, and I bet your family, your mom, dad, siblings.
Oh, they love it. They have all of my videos, anything I've ever recorded, any YouTube video, they still have it and they love to send it to me every once in a while. I just got sent a video that I did during the pandemic where I was making fun of Tiger King. I was making fun of Dog Antle. So yeah, they love sending me stuff, and it makes me happy because my parents were in the entertainment space. My mom was a producer, and she also worked as a news reporter. So it was nice that we followed in similar steps.
And you got to share that with them.
Yeah.
I know it's just special to see them doing something that you always dreamed of.
Yes. I don't think they ever thought that out of all their children that I would probably be the one that would be doing stand up, especially because I was diagnosed with autism. And so that when I was growing up, the chances of me speaking fluently, let alone going on stage and being so open about it, was definitely not something that they were probably expecting of me going way back when I was first diagnosed.
And that's why we have you on here because this podcast it's for parents. And as everyone knows, I have two children. I have five kids. Two of them are hard of hearing, and my son was also given an autism diagnosis too when he was 2.5.
Mhm.
And the school recently removed it, but we still believe that he's on the spectrum. We think he has the double diagnosis, and we celebrate it, and we just learn everything we can about giving him the life or helping support his life so that he can live it to the fullest. But I say that to say that the podcast is not to be a voice for the children, but it's really for parents to empower them because I think that there's so much fear around any type of difference. It's scary because
Yes.
especially in the 80s and 90s, it was very new and a very hush hush for people to talk about any type of brain difference. Now you hear a lot of neurodivergence,
Mhm.
being on the people. Thank God that we're at a space where there is a community of people who celebrate it and who are, advocating for their children, advocating, teaching them how to advocate for themselves. But someone who has the diagnosis themselves or was given the diagnosis as a child can really speak to it differently, right?
And you're right. The 80s and 90s was a very different time. Autism was, like you said, is perfect explanation. It was really hush hush. And it was a lot for my parents to juggle because we were in Orange County and our neighborhood was a predominantly Caucasian neighborhood. So not only was my mother, who was one of the only Black women in the entire neighborhood, she already felt isolated enough. She was worried that her children were already feeling isolated enough. Nobody else really looked the way I did. And so she did not want to add autism on top of it. She already felt like I was already an outcast. And so the fact that I would have this other label attached to my identity was something that she was really worried about. So I actually didn't even know I was diagnosed until I was 18. It was really something that was very private. Only people in our really close circles knew about it. I didn't know about it. It was just kind of this elephant in the room that wasn't really addressed. But I did find out when I went to college, my parents had told me that the reason why I was had so much history of speech pathologist, going to see people about my social skills, having a therapist to talk to, all of it was because I had autism. And I didn't even know at growing up, I just said I had a stutter. I was trying to put some guess as to why I was going through all this therapy and going through all of this support. But it was really because my parents were just so worried that I would look at it internally as if there's something wrong with me instead of letting me just choose my own path and figure out who I am without this diagnosis. Now I'm grateful that things are so different. And I think that people also to find characteristics of autism that they can relate to, which I think has really helped break some of those barriers and close that gap between parents who struggle with raising children with autism and maybe who don't have that experience. I really like when I hear people say, I think I might have the diagnosis. I tend to feel uncomfortable in social situations. I think, okay, that's right, because we call it the spectrum because there is so many different levels and so many things that we in our own personal lives go through, not understanding. Mine was I didn't understand sarcasm and idioms. Like to this day, I have to ask my husband, he'll say something to me and I have to look at him and be like, are you being sarcastic? Because I just don't, that kind of stuff just, it goes right over my head.
I just love that the way that you talk about is it is so normalized because I don't think I'm sure no one realizes how many people feel this way. And
Yeah.
so the I think that like that you have that in your marriage is a win in the very beginning. Like you just got married and you can already say to him, was that sarcasm? Like
Yeah, because I have no idea. And he was incredible. When we first started dating, I told him because once I found out I was diagnosed, for me it was just like, oh, wonderful. Okay, I can now finally put all of this kind of little part of me that was always a little bit confused and quite understand like why I wasn't socially equipped. That was kind of something that I always wasn't really sure with because my brother was really good with his words. My sister was really good with her words, and I always felt like I was lacking in that. So when I found out my diagnosis, I was relieved. I said, okay, great. This is just what I've been dealing with. And when I met my husband, we started dating. He was doing research on dating a person with autism and understanding what that's like and how the tone might be a little bit different. And you have to really like, one of the things that he had found out was that people with autism aren't good at expressing their emotions. And he would just ask me point blank, Brittany, use your words and tell me how you're feeling. Because I know all you want to do is just internalize it. And you think that everybody else understands your problem, but really, no, people don't understand. You have to verbalize it and tell people what's going on.
oh my gosh, that's so good. I love that you have that with him. I think you're breaking up. Sometimes this happens here. Tell me,
Oh, it might have been
it's okay.
it might be me, but I think we got frozen.
Okay, well, if you can still hear me, it's good because it's okay. Can you still hear me? Oh, you're back.
Okay, we're back. Good. Yeah, it froze for a little bit. I was like, oh no.
That's okay. It happens. Sometimes it hasn't. I had to move. I had a better setup upstairs. I
Oh
liked
no.
the way the background was, but I had to move down here because it's a better signal. So if it happens, it's all good. Everyone just stay tuned, stay patient with us.
My laptop is 100 years old. It's
Oh,
old. It's so old. Like there's times where I have to update it, and basically the Apple Store is like, just get a new laptop. Like it's
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I don't like to fix. I'm like, I was just thinking this, like, we throw things away and get new things too often. And not only is it waste, we treat money like it's this thing that's going to come back at any time, and it may not. So we have to be careful. I always tell people, like,
The laptop's supposed to last a long time. I mean, my laptop now is like, oh man, I think it's like 15 years old. I mean, it works, but it's definitely like,
oh, that's incredible.
yeah, it's hanging in there. I've dropped a wine bottle on it before. Like
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good laptop.
it survived. I was cooking in the kitchen and then a wine bottle was on my fridge and it just I don't know if like the fridge just made it move, but it just dropped right on my keyboard. Wine bottle didn't break. It just left this little dent in my keyboard and that's it. And I was like,
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad it still works because get a new laptop right now. I definitely don't. So again, I'm so glad you're doing this with me. And I love that backstory. So you were 18 and so you had all of this time. So do you wish that you had known earlier? Or do you think it worked to your advantage?
I think I have to trust my parents
Okay.
because now that I'm older and I'm in that transitioning more where I identify with parents than with students, parents are just doing the best that they can with what they have.
Yeah.
And if my parents truly believed that I had a better chance of thriving because I didn't know, then
Yeah.
I accept that and I appreciate it because my mom had a good example. She heard a student, someone at the school, they had ADHD and they said it out loud. Well, I can't do this because I have ADHD. And my mom just really heard that and said, I can't bring this into my home. I can't bring that attitude into the house that Brittany can't do this because she has these social cues, like these issues with social cues. She said, I don't want her thinking of it as a hindrance. If there's something wrong with her, she's just a person. She just needs extra support, and that's how we're going to view it.
I really admire it and I respect that, and especially like we said, it was a different time, right?
Mhm.
And so I think that the world interacted with autism being on the spectrum, ADHD. We just interacted with it differently.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that would be the case. I don't know. I think that if someone were to, and it's different, I can't generalize. It's different everywhere in everyone's home and school and neighborhood and community. But a child may have more opportunities to be more empowered. You may hear, I have this diagnosis and I have to do this, this, this. So they may have more tools to sort of help them counteract that self-limiting belief that can happen when you.
And I mean, with social media, there's so many supports now
Oh gosh.
for parents struggling with, how to raise their child. What can I do? There's children that come out and show their support. So, in the 90s, it was very much like it just kind of felt like it was only happening to you, and there wasn't really this community of support for those kind of things. So I think if I was born again in 2025 and I was diagnosed maybe 1 or 2 years later, then my parents would have been very much more open about it for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I feel compelled to say this, and I don't usually talk about it out loud. I know it's going to sound crazy. I talk to myself out loud, but like to where like it's scary to people because what happens is I know I've done it since I was like a kid, and I noticed that my 4-year-old also does it. And on the Brooks, so I'm Ashley Brooks is my maiden name. On that side of the family, my grandfather, my mother's father, used to do it, and it's sort of like compulsive. So let's say I'm just sitting here and I'm having coffee, and I get a thought. I will talk about that thing out loud as though someone were here. And if you were to walk in, you would just see me like talking. And it looks scary. And the reason I say that is because it's something with my brain. And I don't know that I'm doing it until I'm like deeply in, or someone's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, nothing. So, and so, no, it is like affected like my work. Like, I mean, at work,
Yeah.
yeah, people are like, what's happening? even when I was in
Who's
school.
this imaginary friend that Ashley is like going to for support? Like,
Yeah, is she okay?
who's this person?
Yeah, I know. And I don't, I've never really talked about it out loud. I've never brought it up. I talk about it with my friends. And
Mhm.
my 8-year-old, I remember when he was about 5, he goes, Mom, it's weird when you're like just moving your mouth like that. I go, and so I know. And I'm
But
like,
to a kid to let you point out that, and you're just like, oh
oh,
no,
it's
that
the
is
worst. That's not the point. But I'm saying that to say it was always kind of this like, oh God, like we know that she does that. Like, but I told him like, I said, he's at Yende too, Yende Junior. I go, does it make you uncomfortable when you see me do that? He's like, no, I just sometimes wonder like who you're talking to. And I go, I know. I go, oh, it's nobody. But I go, it's just me sitting here and I'm thinking out loud. And so oftentimes I go, people just do it in their head, but I will just do it out loud because that is how I process my thoughts, like
Mhm.
process them out loud. And it looks crazy if you're walking in. And I'm saying that to say, but talking about it, like, and rather than having him be like, oh my God, it's this weird thing that my mom does. It's like I wanted to make it like this is what I'm doing. And it helps me to organize myself. And it's almost like a form of stimming. So, although I don't think that I'm on the spectrum. I mean, if I were, I would accept it and embrace it, but I don't think so. And I also sometimes feel like I want people who are on the spectrum to have this sacred experience rather than people who are not just grabbing it to claim it because it's not everyone.
Yes.
And right, it doesn't belong to everyone.
No, and I do think that's good that you introduce it because, it's your quirk and it's not a quirk that you are hiding from. It's not this like, you're also teaching him that this is something that I do that maybe to the outside world, this is considered a little odd or unusual, but guess what? It makes me feel good and it's part of who I am. I used to be very self-conscious growing up. I actually learned this when I started studying it in college. When I found out I was diagnosed, I decided to learn more about it. So I majored in speech, language, and hearing sciences. And one of the things that they talk about is children who are diagnosed with autism, they don't quite know how to create original thoughts just yet because everything is very repetitive. And so a lot of times they're just mimicking other people's behaviors until they can maybe figure out how to communicate on their own. So for me, I would do what's called movie talk, where I would just communicate through quotes. And it was something that I did because I knew that if when I heard someone in a movie say it and it made people laugh and I wanted to make people laugh, then I would just say that movie quote. And that was like a real defense mechanism as a way of me trying to talk, but I couldn't form my own thoughts. So I said, well, I just want to maybe say what they said on TV because that was funny to me. And in high school one time, I was at track practice and a boy looked at me and he goes, why do you only talk in movies? You only talk through movie quotes. And I just remember being so like, I
Yeah.
felt so exposed. I was like, oh God, he got me. Like the jig is up. Yeah, this is what I do. Like, this is how I communicate. Oh no, like he knows. And I was like, but that was just that was how I was able to communicate. It was my best way of just trying to relate to people.
I love that you share that. You have no idea. Not only did this, you saying that, give other people who may be having a hard time forming their own thoughts, like, oh, maybe I could do that sometime. Like, you gave them a tool. That's a tool. It's a tool. And you know what? I'm pretty sure that you may not realize this, but it probably helped you later on with stand up. Like, oh, this punchline and saying it this way. And it helped create those synapses that you may not even realize you were doing at the time. God uses everything.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, it was nice because again, I didn't know that like it's funny now because I did so much therapy as a child, like my empathy meter is through the roof because when you learn for me growing up, my thing was understanding sarcasm, understanding un nonverbal language, and then like the movie talk. And so I would say like be like, okay, Brittany, when you say things and you're very brutally honest and you are like pointing out these things about these people's flaws and you like will just say if you don't agree with something, it just shoots out of my mind. And so all of these times people would say, Brittany, you're hurting people's feelings because they nobody wants to be heard this. And I think, but you're asking me my opinion, and I'm just telling you the truth. I'm just telling you what I see. So I spent so much therapy was talking about, well, how does that person feel? What is their perspective? You need to understand their perspective. If that was said to you, how would you feel? Oh, I wouldn't like it. So now as an adult, like my empathy reader meter is just up here. Like all I constantly think about is other people's perspectives and in anything. Well, it's not just me, it's the other person too. And you have to think about how they're feeling according to my multiple speech therapists and psychologists that told me that it's all about how the other person feels.
I mean, it put you ahead of the game in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it was so much perspective taking, which I really think anybody can get that.
Kidding?
Because you know what, it's that you can hear the golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated, but it's another thing when you're constantly being rehearsed on it and it's brought up and well, you made this comment and people don't like that. What if someone said that back to you? How would that make you feel? So really just not necessarily targeting someone's like filter, but helping understand the filter. But because I was this very outspoken kid, people thought it was so funny all the time. And I was like, oh, so if I'm just honest and saying what's on my mind, then apparently that's all stand up is too. Like most comics are very like shy, quirky people, and then you see them and they just kind of found a way to turn that filter off. That like if I say this, well, I hurt someone's feelings. Like you have to really tone that filter down in stand up, which was kind of an interesting contrast because I'm learning to not hurt people's feelings, but stand up is like, no, it's okay, hurt their feelings. Like, go for it. No, no, don't worry about offending them. Just say it.
Hearing you say this, it makes me think about what it was like making friends. Like, did you have a friend group? Did you have a close friend growing up? What was that like as a elementary age through high school?
Yeah, so growing up, I would have like one good friend
Okay.
at a time. But I never had like a large group of friends. And I do think that having like high functioning autism was a struggle. And it was something because again, my parents can't they're not telling me why I maybe not be understanding things, but they're trying to. My dad used to always describe like kind of the complexities of social things, especially like amongst little girls growing up, like, or people that identify as little girls, was like, there's just this really hidden unspoken language in girl world. That's how my dad would describe it. He was like, there's girl world, and in girl world, people are not going to be as forward as you. It might be a little bit sneakier, it might be a little bit behind closed doors. And because I was struggling with nonverbal language, that was like a big chunk of girl world. And like that's how you could identify if somebody liked you, if somebody was being honest with you, if somebody was actually being your friend. So I think that was definitely a challenge. Like I remember, I don't personally remember this, but my mom has told me this story that growing up, that I was learning how to initiate play dates. And so let me put this on. I was learning how to initiate play dates. And I worked with my therapist. My sister was helping me. I finally got the courage to ask this girl on a play date. She agreed. And then our bully in the class told her that if you go on that play date with Brittany, the rest of the girls are not going to play with you anymore. We're not going to play with you.
Oh
And
my.
my mom was supposed to pick me up and this other little girl, and she ended up telling me that she wasn't going to go to the play date, and my mom picked me up by myself. And I didn't know this, but my mom ended up going to that little girl's mom's house and went to her house and said, you have no idea how much time and effort we worked to make sure that my child had the courage and the strength to ask this little girl on a play date, and your daughter just blew it. Like in one comment, she has blown weeks of therapy. She's blown weeks of building Brittany's confidence. And either you can fix it with your daughter or you can compensate me for all the therapy that you just
Wow.
destroyed. And so she worked with the mom and then the little girl. she stepped back. She stepped back, and then like she would be kind to me moving forward. But after that, that was a real like it was. I just remember my mom was so devastated that it really shook my confidence because yeah, it was um, trying to navigate those social waters when you just don't fully understand why things the way they are was challenging. But I did always have a buddy growing up. I don't really talk to anybody from my elementary school, middle, and high school years. I think those were the kind of friends for me growing up that were more of like seasonal friends, and every friendship I made taught me how to be a better friend for the next person. So then by the time I was old enough to take those tools for myself in college, that's where my lifelong friendships really started.
Wow.
So my one of my best friends from college actually he was my bridesman. So like, I was capable of having close friends. It took a lot of steps growing up in elementary, middle, and high school before I could solidify those long lasting friendships.
And I think what you said so much that I think it's going to really help parents. But you're basically like, listen, nothing was nothing was developed overnight. I love that you said each friendship helped me to be better for the next friend. And it was like all of those things, yes, I built this empathy, but I also had to learn, okay, when to turn it up, when to bring it down. Okay, how to advocate for myself, then also having people that can step in and advocate for me. So you just gave everyone so much of a gift of knowing, okay, you have to teach your children how to advocate for themselves. And for me, it's really hard for me because I always want to protect them and jump out there and advocate for them. But it's also like, no, you have to get, you know, Brittany, you're going to have to go and ask for that play date, and those types of things. And again, I want to bring it back that even children who don't have a diagnosis, they don't do that. And that could help them, right?
Yeah.
We tend to underestimate our kids, or we don't realize that everyone needs social skills. Or everyone needs to learn that everyone is different and how to not, like, that was a lesson for the little girl who the bully,
Yeah.
willing to bet that she thinks about those things a little bit more. Maybe not. Maybe she's in a home where, but that made an imprint. Oh man, that we do have the power to alter someone's moments. And always when you hear people say, well, words don't matter. I go, no, think about it. There are things that someone has said to you 20 years ago that still come to you. You
Oh
can't
yeah.
say things, or you can't just pick at people and think that it's not going to impact them or that they should be stronger. That's another thing, and then I'm going to get off this tangent, that really bugs me is when people are like, you should be strong. But what? Like sometimes I'm strong, sometimes I'm not. And if you punch me, I don't care how strong I am, I'm going to get a bruise.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not a big fan of like you have to be strong because I think there's a balance. And I think oftentimes, especially as like a woman, if you're strong, then that also comes with a lot of negative connotations.
Yeah.
Like it's, yeah, it can be really isolating. Like you just want to be the truest version of yourself. Like I worked at a preschool after I worked as a speech pathologist, and they had the best methods of social skills. Like they taught kids to advocate for themselves. They would teach kids how to initiate play dates, how to initiate friendships. And then my favorite was if a little boy, or not a little boy, but if anybody had ran a conflict, a toy was stolen, someone got pushed, they were encouraged to go back to that student and say, you took my toy and I didn't like it.
Wow.
And then instead of encouraging the other kid to say sorry, the first thing we would encourage them to say is ask if they're okay.
Wow.
Are you okay? And then sometimes the kids would say yes, and sometimes the kids would say no. And if they said no, then you'd have to follow up. Okay, well how can I make you feel better? So I don't have kids yet, but I do really want to take those skills I learned from the preschool because those kids from what I heard when they transitioned on to elementary school, they had really strong social skills and they had real confidence in themselves because they learned not to say, I don't like that. You did that and I don't like it. And I just thought that is such a good way to get a kid to advocate for yourself. You don't have to be aggressive, you don't have to be mean. You just have to tell them, I didn't like that. And instead of teaching the other kid to go, I'm sorry. Like,
Yeah.
they might not mean it. They have to say, well, are you okay? And what can I do to make you feel better?
Yeah, an
Just,
action. Yeah.
yeah.
I love it. Our time is running out. Look, I could talk to you forever. You and your husband, it was your fiance at the time, came over and I had to call your mom the next day and tell her, I don't know if she told you, but I was like, Brittany and her fiance came over and I did not want them to leave. And I've never had that ever. I'm an introvert. And so usually like I get tired from being around people.
Yeah.
I could have been with you guys all day.
We had so much fun. I mean, your kids are incredible.
Thank
It was just so nice getting to, 'cause, we've seen each other like outside of the home a bunch. And then you and Allende have always made the trek down to come see my family in Orange County. So it was so nice to be able to just return the favor and get to come spend time with you guys and see you just comfy at home. Like the kids, that little one,
Oh, she loves you.
my
She
baby. I love my
Aaron,
baby.
he loves you. So we're gonna cut off soon, but I want to do this again with you a little later. I'm gonna, later on, but this was great and the time flew by. But one thing before we hop off, just really quick, what is one thing that you could say a parent could do to help a child advocate for themselves? We know having them ask for a play date, something that you're like, I really wish that I had done this, or I think this is a really good thing that kids can do.
Think a good thing for parents to encourage kids to do and to help with their identity is find things that they like about themselves. Find, if, like, for example, me doing movie talk, clearly I like movies. Maybe one day I could like to make my own movie,
Oh,
or maybe I'd like to be in a movie. And because I can do that, it makes me a funny person. So finding that thing about your children that they maybe not even what the parent likes about the children, what they like about themselves, and use that as a foundation to build their confidence and come back to those things, especially the days they're not feeling their best, to remind them, well, this is what I like about me. And that's a great start.
I love it. Brittany, thank you so much for being on the Calm and Courageous podcast. You are an inspiration to me. And not just because you had a diagnosis as a child, but just who you are as a woman. I just think that you're very beautiful inside and out. I'm so happy for you, your career, your new marriage, just your future. I'm just excited to see everything unfold for you. Again, thank you for being on the podcast. And I hope that we can chat and do this again soon.
Thank you. You have been doing beautiful work, so keep it up.
Thank you.
Bye.